I the a-hole for refusing to let my neighbor use my vintage bathtub for his therapy sessions? Original post. So, this whole situation is actually absurd, but I need outside opinions because I feel like I'm actually losing my mind. I, 28 female, live in an old Victorian house I inherited from my grandfather. Most people don't believe me when I tell them the house is mine, but my parents are not in my life. My mom died from heart health complications, and my dad was never really in the picture after elementary school. I had a really close relationship with my granddad growing up and loved visiting him in his home, so he left me the place in his will. One of the features of the house is the original clawfoot bathtub from the 1920s in the upstairs bathroom. I was originally going to look into having it removed, but kept putting it off due to the logistics of getting it out of the house and hiring people to help me. I used it out of necessity, and it may sound weird, but I eventually fell in love with it. It's spacious, and it feels luxurious, like I'm some sort of old royal or something. Lol. Over the past few years, I've researched how to care for it, and only use special cleaners, and basically treat it like an antique. Enter my next-door neighbor Dennis, 50s male. Dennis is eccentric. He's into all these weird health trends, like grounding his feet in buckets of dirt for electrical balance, or drinking filtered water taken from our local pond because it has earth nutrients. I don't think he's a heavy drug user and doesn't have an actual mental disability, but he definitely has some mental issues. Lately, he's gotten into hydrotherapy, which apparently requires him to soak in cold water for extended periods to reset his nervous system. I don't really talk with him much, but will regrettably run into him every so often, since he always sits out on his front porch or meanders around his lawn. 2 weeks ago, Dennis came over and, completely out of the blue, asked if he could use my bathtub for his hydrotherapy sessions. I thought he was joking, but no, he earnestly explained that my tub was the perfect energy conduit because it was pre-industrial revolution and untainted by modern manufacturing processes. I told him no, obviously. I don't even let guests use that tub, let alone a rando wrinkly old dude who wants to fill it with ice water and do whatever nonsense he's into. Dennis did not take this well. He said I was being selfish with community resources, and that because I inherited the house rather than buying it, I had a duty to share, since I didn't work for it. He started bringing it up every time he saw me, passive-aggressively saying things like, "Must be nice to hoard that all to yourself." Then, somehow, this got out to the neighborhood Facebook group this week, who loves drama. And now, half the street thinks I'm the villain for gatekeeping my own bathtub. This is just as absurd as it sounds. The cherry on top is Dennis conveniently claims that his shower stopped working too, so he doesn't even have a place to clean himself. Not like this was a favorite pastime of his to begin with. I was trying to just avoid Dennis as much as I could and ignore the few comments from my neighbors until I ran into one of them while I was going for a walk yesterday evening. I don't really know her, but we chatted briefly and somehow the topic of Dennis and the bathtub came up. I was expecting some sympathy for the absurdity of all this, but this woman proceeds to tear into me. Like literal verbal assault by the end of it, asking me why I was being so stupid and selfish, that I have multiple bathrooms in the house and couldn't even spare one to help this old man's health. This morning I found a literal gift-wrapped bar of soap in my mailbox. There was no note or anything, but I assumed this was her insanely petty, passive-aggressive way of telling me to shove it. I do not want this man soaking in my tub. I do not care about his nervous system reset. But now I feel like I'm losing my mind because everyone around me is acting like I'm some kind of selfish monster. I get that some of the people in the neighborhood aren't keen on me living here, but I live by myself and work and go to school all day, and I'm genuinely starting to worry that I'm going to come home someday to find Dennis reclining in my tub. Am I the a-hole? Also, for anyone wondering how Dennis knew about the tub, he's lived here forever and helped my granddad do repairs back in the day, so he's seen the house. That said, he hasn't been in it. The house, not the bathtub, to my knowledge, in at least 15 years. Obviously not the a-hole. It's not a community resource, it's your home. Community resource is so freaking crazy. I cannot. Not the a-hole. So weirdo neighbor who is now suddenly into hydrotherapy. Seems only your bathtub will work for him since it's a pre-industrial revolution. Then Dennis can go find his own antique bathtub to use. Your granddad left the home to you, not the community crackpots and weirdos. I'd let the neighbors feel so passionately. They can help Dennis get his own tub. Not the a-hole. Tell your neighbors that you will not allow a mentally ill man into your house to get naked in your bathtub. Your final answer is hell no, and the next step will be a restraining order. Make sure they make the connection that there's a mentally ill man demanding to get naked in the house of a young woman who lives alone and do strange things in your favorite bathtub. Make sure they understand how aggressively weird this makes them look. When he posts on Facebook, reply on FB so it's on record. I have told you no, repeatedly, that I will not allow you into my home to get naked. You are not entitled to get inside my home and take your clothes off. No means no. Stop harassing me. Stop telling my neighbors to pressure me to let you in my house. I do not want a strange man in my home. Set up cameras, because his next escalation will be breaking in. He needs to be called out, and strongly. This man is making your life hell in your neighborhood. He is making a nuisance of himself, and basically slandering you in public. Collect his posts and comments pertaining to you and your home, so you have his actions documented. If you can, make it clear on that platform that this is your property, your space, and it is not up for community use. I would also ask these supporter Karens of his to consider sharing their private spaces and bathtubs with him if they're so concerned about his rights. Screw him and them. I would also consider home security and legal advice once you have his nonsense documented. Now for some update. Thank you all for the support. I was overwhelmed with over 1,000 Reddit notifications this morning and literally cried from relief scrolling through all of your comments before I got out of bed. Some helpful details. To clarify the neighborhood situation, it's a very small older community that is fairly isolated from the surrounding area. Everyone has lived here forever, and everyone is very toxic and set in their ways. They are very politically hostile to outsiders, and though I am not a strong politics person, it became very clear when I moved in that I was not one of them. This, combined with the jealousy of my inheriting the house at a relatively young age, has painted me as an outsider in their minds. This is the first actual issue I've had, but there have been mild microaggressions towards me in the past. Nothing serious, just little things to irk me that I have largely ignored. To the people saying I use them dashes too much, deal with it lol. I get a lot of flack for this from friends. I even use them when texting. Also, comments about the age of the tub sound accurate. I'm not a history buff, but this makes sense. And to anyone who was offended by me calling Dennis old, I'm sorry. He's probably in his late 50s, and while that is not super old, it is old enough compared to me to make me feel weird about inviting him into my home as practically a stranger. To anyone asking why I didn't take action earlier, I work 20+ hours per week, and I'm a non-traditional full-time student commuting over an hour to class several days a week, so I've not had the time or energy to look into a lot of the things you suggested. As for moving forward, I don't have the mental and physical capacity to care for a dog in my life right now, especially a big one, and I don't feel comfortable inviting a housemate into my home to live with me. That said, the cameras seem like a really great idea that I really should have considered when I moved in. I just didn't see the need before. I don't have loads of money to spend on a full security system, but I will at least be purchasing a camera for my front door. I am worried about confronting Dennis or escalating things in the Facebook group because I do not want things to get worse or encourage someone to do something stupid. For the time being, I will be actively avoiding him and my neighbors and seeing if anything else happens. I haven't dealt with the police in my town, but have heard that they are not super helpful, so I hesitate to bring this to their attention. I feel like telling them that someone asked to use my bathtub and someone else gave me a bar of soap is not going to be grounds for them to take me seriously. Something that has really worried me is the comments on the original post about Dennis' possible predatory behavior. While it was clear that he has been gently harassing me about it, I never even considered the fact that being naked in my home or sharing the intimacy of my bathtub may be some sort of weird fetish or kink. This may be overreacting, but now that I think about it, all the signs check out. The constant pressure, and seriously, why wouldn't he just buy his own tub? I feel naive and have a major ick, and am genuinely scared about what he might do if he actually has ill intentions. Any further input is welcome. I am still reading through all your lovely comments on the original post, and I will try to update you all if this escalates further. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling off a friend when she charged us for dinner? I hang out with a group of friends, and one of them is a rather boastful influencer. She talks non-stop about her wealth, trips, cars, boyfriends, etc. Usually, the rest of us just listen and don't really take offense because she's just rattling off about herself. Recently, this friend snagged an extremely rich boyfriend and proceeded to move into his multi-million-dollar mansion. She was so excited and posted pictures of the pool, jacuzzi, etc. She invited us to her new house and specifically said, "I want to invite all of you for dinner at my new house with my boyfriend." The rest of us accepted the invitation and came to the house. All the wealth she talked about really existed, and her boyfriend was nice. He didn't stay throughout, as he had paperwork to finish in his room. Soon it was dinner time. We were all hungry as it was quite a long drive to the mansion, and suddenly, my friend took out her phone and said, "Okay, I'll be ordering food and drinks from a nearby mart. Tell me what you want, and I'll get it delivered here." I thought it was strange that she was ordering food only then, instead of having food already prepared for us guests by the numerous maids there. No drinks were served, but we had to order them as well. The food came, it was cold, and I just ate and didn't think much of it. The rest of the night was pretty much normal. After we left, the friend proceeded to send us a text with a detailed breakdown of the cost of the a la carte dish and drink that each of us ordered, with a firm reminder to quickly transfer her the money. The first thing that came to my mind was annoyance. She gave us the impression that she would serve us dinner at her boyfriend's multi-million-dollar mansion, but it just ended up with each of us paying for our dinner. What sort of hostess was she? I felt that her invitation was misleading. I wasn't expecting a 10-course dinner, but social convention would imply that at least some simple food and water would be served for the guests, and that guests would not be charged. We transferred her the money, and then I sarcastically texted in the group chat, "Oh wow, if I knew we were all paying for our individual meals, we could have met at a restaurant for dinner." I guess all that wealth in the house was just for show. Then I left the group chat. Since that incident, I haven't hung out much with her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. When you are invited for dinner at someone's house, it is assumed you will be served dinner. If the host is ordering out, they should inform you prior that you have to pay for your order. And that's what I would have said in the group chat before leaving and not paid her. How did the other guests feel about it? I would pay and never talk to her again. Small cost for knowing who she really is. I would advise all my friends to do the same. I only say I would pay, so that she has zero reason to ever talk to me again. No, you owe me money texts. Just a clean break. Good luck with your new sad life. You are actually not enough of an a-hole. You can do better. Agreed. Out her to her new rich friends. If she's an influencer, out her on social media. Last story. Am I the a-hole for feeding my daughter's softball team junk at our sleepover? I, 35 female, have 3 children, all enrolled in extracurriculars. My oldest daughter, who's 13, plays softball and has for years. I live in a smaller town, so I know the other girls' parents, and we are well acquainted. I even consider a few of them friends. We take turns having big, huge sleepovers for the girls at our homes, and this weekend it was my daughter's turn. We had never discussed what we should and should not feed the girls, just allergies and such, so I didn't think there were any rules. My other child is also in sports, and I have never had complaints about this either. I've hosted these sleepovers before, just not this season yet, and there are a few mothers who are newer parents to the team. Anyway, I bought the girls pizza and breadsticks, and offered pink or regular lemonade for dinner. I also had a lot of snacks, mostly chips, but I did bake some brownies as well. The next morning, I just got a lot of Dunkin' Donuts. It's 15 girls I'm feeding, so I figured it was easiest because these types of things feed a lot of children. My children don't normally eat like this either. I was just excited for the first sleepover at our house this season. Anyway, I've gotten some complaints from the newer moms in our group chat. They said I shouldn't be loading their children up on sugar and junk food, and how their kids don't eat like that at home. I replied that it was a sleepover. It was supposed to be a fun event for the girls. So what was the big deal? That offended them. They accused me of undermining their parenting and said their daughters wouldn't be coming to my daughter's sleepovers anymore unless I decided to feed them better food. This caused an argument because, like I said, no one has ever mentioned what we should feed the children at these sleepovers, and there were never any rules. I thought it was fair game. I reiterated that it was just fun food. It was a slumber party, and a few of the other parents agreed with me. A few hours later, that mother replied in the group chat that her daughter would no longer be coming to any events at my home since I couldn't see that fun food was just a different word for junk. Then she called me a lousy mother for feeding children that and left the group chat. Am I the a-hole? Has she hosted yet? What do the other moms that have been around the block serve when it's their turn? I've heard pizza before as well, and I know one of the dads grilled hot dogs and hamburgers. I'm not sure about the rest. No, she hasn't hosted yet. When she does host, don't send your daughter, and I doubt some other girls will attend either. She will spend that time telling your daughter things that could lead to an unhealthy relationship with food. I'm gonna go with not the a-hole here. These moms never communicated any dietary restrictions to you, and as a parent, that's their responsibility if they're letting someone else look after their child for a night. And honestly, you're correct. Sleepovers are supposed to be fun. These are supposed to be bonding activities for the team, and stuff like this is supposed to be a treat. Also, you're feeding 15 children. I don't blame you for taking the easy option of pizza and chips. Maybe you shouldn't have argued with them and simply said you'd provide different options in the future for the girls, but what's done is done now. Not the a-hole. This seems like typical food for a softball party, especially when it's one household feeding the entire team. If I sent my kid to a sleepover like this is exactly how I'd expect them to eat. It's one night. It's not going to do harm. Take this from a parent who obsesses over my kids, getting enough fruit and veggies. Sometimes eating healthy just isn't realistic given the situation. Kudos to you for being a nice mom by letting all these teenagers into your home and getting them all food. Right, like, is she supposed to spend hours in the kitchen cooking for that many kids? Pizza is classic for a softball party. Maybe she could have had a veggie tray. But let's be real, the kids won't be reaching for that. Let them have some unhealthy food sometimes. To me, that's a healthy mindset about food. It's good to have balance.